Hey friends, welcome back to another shorter class. Today is going to be slightly different as we bring some more education around anatomy into our movement today. In particular, we're focusing on the difference between stable joints and mobile joints, so stability and mobility. If you really enjoyed this class and wanted to practice in more depth, there is a longer form video of this in our Patreon account down below. All right, let's get started in a standing position. So bring your feet underneath your hips. And you're just going to start by lifting one foot off the ground and circling the ankle of the other foot. And while we do this, I want you to think about, in your mind, if I asked you what joints are stable and what joints are mobile, what could you think of? Even in this movement right here, what's being stable, what's being mobile? All right, let's change sides. So the ankle seems to have a lot of range of motion, right? So the ankle is considered a mobile joint, whereas the foot on the ground, it is helping us stabilize to not move. So the foot is a stable joint. It doesn't have too much range of motion there. All right, let's go back to the other side. And as you do this, you might start to roll the wrists as well, if you can. I find this quite hard to focus on doing many things at once, but give it a go. So the wrists also seem to be quite mobile. So mobile refers to range of motion, ability to move, swapping sides, maybe swapping directions of the circles. You know what? Some other joints that are really mobile are our shoulders because they're a ball and socket joint. So come back through standing and then take your arms out, turn your thumbs down, and then see if you can keep turning them around. All right, almost like your palms are facing up to the sky. So this is called internal rotation. And then if you flip your hands, turn the palms up, but then try pull the thumbs back and down, this is external rotation. So our shoulder can almost turn all the way around. Okay, this is very mobile. And it should be mobile. We've got to reach for lots of things, especially if we play a lot of sport, we've got to move around. Okay, we're not going to get that same amount of motion from the elbow joint. It can only stop about halfway, it can't go all the way down. But that's important, otherwise we would kind of be like a noodle. Our arms would be all over the place. So we need a balance between, keep going with this movement. So we need a balance between mobile and stable joints. And you know what else is quite mobile? Is our thoracic spine. All right, so the thoracic spine can extend, so start to lean back a little bit, but then it can also flex. So you can almost reach down towards the ground and like curl up. So you can almost imagine cat and cows in this position. So it can extend, it can flex, it can laterally flex as well. So reach one hand down towards the ground, maybe one hand up, and then it can go the other way. We're doing this in quite a sped up way, so it's more going to be education. If you wanted a more flowy sequence around this, check out our flow down below. The thoracic spine can also rotate. Actually, most parts of the spine can to some degree. So if you twist from side to side, most of that movement is going to come through the thoracic spine. There's going to be a lot less rotation through our lumbar spine. There's almost no rotation through our SI joint, and a little bit of rotation through our cervical spine. So that's where the neck is. And we need to have, this part of our spine with less rotation. Okay, again, otherwise it would be kind of like a noodle. We wouldn't be able to stand upright. But we need to be able to twist around, to reach and grab things. If we're pulling things up and throwing them, we need to be able to move in that way. So it's important that we do practice being mobile, and that's why yoga and mobility work can be quite useful for this, because we're moving in lots of different directions. bending, flexing, side bending, extending. And we go over to the hips. So our hips, they're pretty mobile. They can move up and around. So you can do this with your leg as well. You can go up and around. They can externally rotate. They can internally rotate as you go inwards. So you can join in with me if you'd like. So externally rotating is knee out, foot in. Internally rotating is the other way. And try not to hinge your hip up when you're doing this. Maybe you swap sides. So in, out. But it can also go around in a circle. All right, it's another ball and socket joint. Super mobile. If our knees did this, would we be able to walk forward? Would we be able to walk back? Maybe not. But with our hips, without our hips being mobile, would we be able to come down into a squat? Probably not. And you'll notice if you do have poor hip mobility, you might only be able to squat up here without the hips tucking under and the spine rolling forward. It also relates to our ankle mobility. If our ankle mobility isn't that great, we'll probably be falling back. Or we'll have to lift our heels off to squat down. So everything's kind of interrelated. So let's come back into our squatting position. So malasana, bringing the hands towards the chest, press the knees out. So we're getting really deep hip flexion of our hip joint, of our ankle joint. Really think about drawing the toes up towards the shin. Squeeze the shoulders back and down, and you might rock from side to side here. And this is kind of a nice way just to bring a little bit of more movement into the calf. Might feel a little bit less intense than if you went straight into a deep squat. And then as you next pick up your right heel, so you're shifting towards your right toes, you might stay here, push your right shoulder down into the leg, and then reach the left hand away. So you're twisting the spine, mostly for the thoracic. The lumbar is going to twist a little bit, but not too much. And then we come back. And we try to the other side. So reaching the right hand away, pushing the left shoulder in front of the left leg, and then coming back. Now I have quite a few clients of mine who are hypermobile, and they can do things with ease, like, you know, they can do the splits, they can do this really easily. The problem with that is that oftentimes when people are hypermobile, they kind of sit into it and they forget about activeness and strength. And in order for us to stay as injury-free as possible, we need to be able to engage. There needs to be some elasticity within our tendons and our ligaments, but not too much. So we need to practice strength training in there for people especially who are hypermobile. But you also need to be able to relax and move, because if you're moving suddenly, you're going to need to be able to release and lengthen that muscle, that tendon, that ligament, so that the joint can move around quickly and with ease. Let's come into a plank position. So you can be on your knees here. If you wanted to try be on your toes, you can. Just try shift forward and back. So there's there can be a bit of mobility within our wrists. Often our wrists can get quite tight. Let's shift back to downward facing dog. So lift the hips up, soften the knees, push through the hands, and then roll back into your plank. Shift the shoulders over the wrists. Exhale to push back up. Breathe in to shift your weight forward. If you wanted a little bit more, the next time you shift your weight forward, you can flip your hand so that the back of the palm is pressing down. This might feel quite intense as you shift back, lift up the back of the hand, but the knuckles press down. Shift back, let's try that one more time. Breathe in. Exhale, press the knuckles down. Breathe in, swap the hand. Exhale, shift back, knuckles press down. Ooh, got clicky knuckles today. Breathe in, shift forward. Exhale, shift back. Inhale, shift forward. All right, bring both of the hands down. Lock the core in, so push the hands away from the ground. Tuck the ribs in, little squeeze of the glutes. And then lift one foot off the ground, just a little bit. So one thing that helps protect the lower spine is the core. And you'll notice that if your core starts to fatigue, your lumbar spine will start to round. And that's how we bring strain into the places of the muscles around the lower back. All right, let's swap legs. So we want to utilize the core, and if our core is fatiguing, we want to rest, or we want to modify and shift it down. Bring that foot down, take another breath in. Exhale, bend the elbows coming down to the ground. Bring the right hand out to the side, to a T. Lift up your left toes, left hand by your side, and then start to press your left foot, almost like you're trying to reach towards your right hand. Come back through center, let's swap to the other side. So left hand extends out this time. Push your right hand, twist the right foot towards the left hand. Back through center. So what joints are we using when we do this? As we repeat this a couple more times each side. So you'll notice that the spine is extending and twisting a little bit. The hips are also extending as the leg comes behind us. So the shoulder is also in an extended position behind us as we twist open. So lots of extending going on, which is one of the reasons why this movement is so awesome, because we spend a lot of our lives with our joints, our backs, our legs, our upper body all closed off. Let's try one more each side. Come back through center. Bring the hands by the ribs and then press yourself up onto your knees. Walk the knees in underneath your hips. Let's practice some cat and cows. And we really want to feel the articulation through the spine here, so go slow. So start by dropping the thoracic spine down, so feel the ribs. So thoracic means the part of the spine that the ribs are connected to. There are 12 vertebrae in the thoracic spine. And then lifting up the lumbar spine, where there are 5 joints, and then the SI joint, the cervical spine, the neck, which has 7 joints in. Take another breath in. And then as we exhale, let's start to push the hands through the ground. Tuck the tailbone, so that's kind of like the SI joint. The lumbar spine kind of starts to lift up. Draw the belly button up and in as the ribs tuck in. Then as the chin comes into chest, we curl through the cervical spine. Breathing in, starting to ripple back down, so drop the belly down first, and then start to flare the ribs. Draw the shoulders back and down, lift the eye gaze, take another breath in. Exhale, ripple through the lower back first. Press through the hands, back of the heart towards the sky. All right, and then come back through center. Sit yourself down, shake out your wrists. Nice job, everyone. I feel like we've gotten a little bit of snippet of what joint stability and mobility is like. One thing I did forget is if you come up to a standing position, any kind of balancing movements that you do in a yoga asana class, you'll notice your feet obviously are really kind of firing up, but also your knee. Often you'll hear kind of cues to lock out the knee. In most poses, I tend to find this cue quite inaccurate and for some people quite harmful. Kind of comes down to back to that hypermobility focus or problem, where we can just get really relaxed in that position and just fall into it. So bending the knee a little bit, really means that we have to activate the tendons and ligaments around that joint much more so that we are more stable and we can protect our joints more. But yeah, I hope that you found something useful out of this class. I know it was kind of a lot of information and less kind of flow. If you are interested in more flow as we talk about the education, feel free to head to Patreon. But I hope this enhances your knowledge of your body and how it all moves and interrelates together, and maybe you took something out of it. So I hope to see you again sometime soon, and make sure you leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it, or share it with a friend as well. Much love to you all. See you next time.